This conference will now be recorded.
My goodness, this conference will now be recorded.
That's good that it announces this. This is excellent. So, so it's Mary Ann Christie, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So I am here today with Mary Ann Christie, author of Blind Tribute, winner of the 2017 New Apple Literary Awards ebook General Fiction. And we're here to talk about historic fiction and historic romance. Those are your two key areas that you write. Is that correct, Mary?
That is correct. I write historical fiction as Mary Ann Christie, and I write historical romance as Mary Anna Gabrielle.
So can you tell us a little bit about your book, Blind Tribute?
Blind Tribute is a historical fiction novel set during the Civil War. It's about a newspaper editor who has divided loyalties. He was raised as a Southern planter and then grew up to become a Yankee newsman. And so after a long and illustrious career, he goes back to the South to cover the Civil War when the war starts.
Great. And what inspired this book? What is some of your key inspiration to write Blind Tribute?
Primary inspiration was my great uncle, who was a world-renowned journalist before journalism was a place where people became world-renowned. He was very much ahead of his time. He ran a business service. Essentially, he rooted out news of interest to businessmen around the world. And they ran the first business newsletter in the United States. If you're familiar with the Kiplinger letter,
yeah.
The Whaley Eaton foreign letter and American letter were the precursors to the Kiplinger letter.
Okay.
And so the first business newsletter in the United States.
Fantastic. So a little bit of influence of that, and plus your interest in sort of historic fiction and historic romance in general. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's developed?
I was sort of steeped in history from the time I was a child. Lots and lots of family history, especially in the South. And so sort of steeped in that mindset of revering history from birth, pretty much. It's not surprising to me that this is the direction that my writing took eventually. But I probably wouldn't have guessed it. If I had been guessing when I was 15, I probably wouldn't have thought. But it's not really a surprise looking over the course of my life that it's the direction that I took.
Yeah. And I've known you for over 20 years now, and you've always been writing and working in writing. What sort of brought into that experience? What inspired you to be a writer, and how did you get your start?
I had to make a decision whether I was going to take an internship at the Denver Post in college or whether I was going to audition for the National Musical Theater Conservatory. And I hit a crossroads, and those were my sort of summer options one year. And I decided that writing was a more stable career path, and that if I learned how to write anything that was put in front of me, I would probably also always be able to make a living doing that. And I was right. It's nice when you're right when you're young and stupid.
So what sort of advice would you give to aspiring LGBTQ writers out there?
Advice I would give to any aspiring writer is to learn your tools. And that is more important than, hey, I want to publish a book. Or, hey, I want to write to market. Or so-and-so says I can make money if I publish my book on Kindle. I think learning the tools and understanding the tools that you have at your disposal is really the key.
Yeah. And you identify as a queer woman, that is correct?
I identify as an asexual bisexual, so that's pretty queer, yes.
Yeah. So how has that influenced some of your writing, especially when it comes to writing things like Regency romances and similar works?
Yeah, it's complicated. I'm an asexual bisexual who writes heterosexual historical romance, so it's a little complicated. I admit it.
Mhm.
I'll own that. Um, I think that there's a distinction between being a queer author and writing queer books. And I would say that almost all of my books have at least one gay character,
Mhm.
but only one of my books has gay themes.
Mhm.
And so there are a couple of books that I'm featuring for the Queer Author Expo this year. One of them is La Déesse Noire, The Black Goddess,
Mhm.
which has a queer subplot.
Mhm.
The heroine is a kept woman, and her best friend is a kept man.
Mm.
And so in Regency England, that was it could be a death sentence.
Right.
And so we plumb some of those depths
Oh.
in the book as a subplot.
And
Uh,
that book again was
La Déesse Noire, the Black
awesome.
Goddess.
Okay, and we'll make sure that we have a link to your website in the description of this video. And then go ahead and continue. You had another book you were talking about.
And well, and so if you look at Blind Tribute, for instance, there's a gay character in Blind Tribute.
Hmm.
Um, we don't go into any detail about the fact that she's gay. It doesn't come up as a theme. It's not an important piece of information. It just happens to be true of this particular character.
Hmm.
Um, and so I wouldn't say that I write queer books.
Hmm.
And even in the case of the Black Goddess, it's a subplot.
Hmm.
I have some romance novels that are male male and female female
Hmm.
that are in the works that have not been published yet.
Well, we're definitely going to keep an eye out for those.
But but they will come eventually.
Mhm.
Yeah, the subplot for the Black Goddess, actually, the gentleman concerned is going to have his own happy ever after here at some point in the near future.
Now, when I was looking over your website, you talk about one of the major themes of your writing um, is sort of like pain and scars, right? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, my tagline is second chances for scarred souls.
Mm.
Um, I don't think I've ever written a character that didn't start off scarred. Like, so from the beginning. So before the book even starts, my characters have scars and are carry baggage from one thing or another. And that's pretty much true across genres, across all of my books. My characters just start off damaged.
Hmm.
And then in the case of the romance novels, because we're looking for happy endings, you see
How that healing occurs.
they get past that, and that is healed.
Mhm.
In the case of Blind Tribute, we get sort of a bittersweet ending. It's not necessarily the happy ever after sort of ending,
Mhm.
um, because it doesn't need to be. It's not a romance novel.
Mhm.
But it's yeah, it's there's definitely an element of someone who is damaged is then in fact with Blind Tribute further damaged, and then coming out of that on the other side. What does that look like on the other side?
Right. And is there elements that you really hope the audience takes away from your work?
Excuse me.
Are there elements or themes that you really hope the audience takes away, your readers take away from your work?
Yes, but I think those things are different for every book.
Mm.
And so I wouldn't say that I necessarily, I mean, the second chances for scarred souls is pretty much a theme that goes across all my books. That's absolutely for sure. Um, but that tagline grew out of multiple books being written first, right? So the tagline organically came from the books rather than, it's not like I'm writing the books to meet the tagline.
It sort of is a reflection or a recognition of the themes that you found that you were encountering
Yes.
in your writing.
Yes, exactly. And so I would say, yes, there are themes. There's every book has themes, and every book has something deeper that I would like people to come away from, or come away with. Absolutely, that's true. I tend to be sort of an intellectual, and I think that comes out even in books that are sort of escapist in nature. I think that my tendency to being an intellectual flows through.
Great. So is there anything else that we want to include on this interview? Anything that was coming up?
No, I think that, I mean, we talked about, what we had talked about online. You're gonna have to edit that out. Thank you very much.
We're gonna have to chop.
We're just gonna cut that out. Yeah.
Okay, John, edit that portion out, please. So
please don't let me look like an idiot. Just edit out anything that makes me look stupid. That would be awesome.
Yeah, so it was really good to hear about your books. And you mentioned that you had you're kind of offering a pride related offering this year, or bundle or package or sale? Or
well, no, I'm actually I've decided that all of my book sales for the entirety of the book expo, so not just Pride, but the length of the book expo, which is the 17th through the 24th, all of my book sales for that period, 50% of my sales will go to the center as a donation.
Awesome.
So
yeah, definitely.
So nothing particularly special in terms of a deal or that. I'm featuring Blind Tribute. I'm featuring La Déesse Noire as my 2 books. There are other books on my website that are available as well. So I would encourage people to take a look at the website and see what they find.
Great. And the website will be down in the description. And folks, remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification, and check out our link to the center's donation page as well if you want to offer donations to the center. Thank you very much, Mary Christie. It was good to meet with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this interview with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Stop.